The German Panzer Divisions that spearheaded the assault through France and the Low Countries in 1940 were well-balanced all-arms teams. In this video, I'm using my model collection to demonstrate the structure of the Panzer Divisions and also show the differences between them. Each model represents roughly a platoon of 4 to 5 vehicles. I've included the soft skins as much as my model collection will allow. The use of one model to one platoon should be familiar to wargamers, particularly those who use rules such as command decision or rapid fire. This first division represents 1st Panzer Division as it appeared in May 1940. This is the divisional headquarters, and behind it is the headquarters of 1st Panzer Brigade. Note the signals van and the command Panzer III. 1st Panzer Brigade included 2 regiments, 1st and 2nd Panzer Regiment. Here is the headquarters of 1st Panzer Regiment with its command Panzer I and command Panzer III. Behind it is the workshop company with a recovery half-track, workshop vans, spare parts and other supply items. The regiment had 2 battalions. Here is the headquarters of the 1st Battalion with its command Panzer I, recon Panzer II, anti-aircraft KFZ-4, engineer platoon and field kitchen. Each battalion had its own supply organisation with ammunition and fuel. The battalion itself consisted then of 3 tank companies, 2 light companies and a medium company. Although 1st Panzer Regiment had been authorised to have 17 Panzer IIIs per company, there simply were not enough to go around, and so they fought with about 7 Panzer IIIs per light company. The 2nd Battalion had the same structure as the 1st, and 2nd Panzer Regiment with its 2 battalions had the same structure. The other primary fighting brigade within the division was the 1st Motorised Infantry Brigade. Here is its headquarters, and it consisted of 1st Rifle Regiment. This is the headquarters of the regiment, supply behind it, and then the 1st Battalion headquarters. What made 1st Motorised Rifle Regiment different to all others within the German Army was that it was equipped with the 251 half-track. Of its 9 infantry companies, 7 were equipped with the half-track. 1st Battalion, 2 of its infantry companies were in half-tracks, 1 was in motorcycles or mounted on motorcycles, machine gun company and heavy weapons company with a platoon of 37mm packs and the 75mm light howitzer. The 2nd Battalion of the 1st Rifle Regiment was organised in an identical fashion to the 1st, again with 2 companies in 251 half-tracks, the 3rd on motorbikes, machine gun company and heavy company. The 3rd Battalion had a slightly different structure, no motorbikes. All 3 of its infantry companies were mounted in 251 half-tracks. I've been deliberately conservative with the number of 251s that I've given, as there's conflicting reports on how widely issued this vehicle was. There are some reports that it was in some of the support companies as well, but I've only shown 7 of the infantry companies in 251s. Notice this is the 251 Alpha, or first version of it. In France, no machine gun shield, and it was quite common for the troops to put sandbags at the front of the vehicle. The other infantry within the 1st Panzer Division was the motorcycle battalion, 1st Motorcycle Battalion. 2 motorcycle companies, a motorcycle machine gun company which included mortars, and a heavy company with pack, light infantry gun and engineers. To support all of this, 702 self-propelled infantry gun battery with the heavy infantry gun mounted on a Panzer I chassis. Given the firepower inherent in the tanks within the Panzer Division, there was no real need for the Panzer Divisions to have the artillery that was present in the infantry divisions. So the standard allocation was 2 battalions of 105 field howitzers per division. 1st Panzer Division, along with 2nd and 10th, however, had additional artillery. So within the 73rd Motorised Artillery Battalion was also the 2nd 56th Artillery Battalion, which had the welcome additional firepower of 2 batteries of 150mm howitzer and 105mm gun. The 4th Reconnaissance Battalion had the standard structure across all Panzer Divisions with the exception of 9th, which was 2 armoured car companies, a motorcycle company, and then a heavy company. 37th Anti-Tank Battalion, 3 companies of 37mm pack. The 37th Armoured Engineer Battalion had an armoured company which included demolition Panzer Is and a bridging or bridge layer Panzer IV. 2 companies of engineers and a bridging company. Attached to 1st Panzer Division was the 2nd 59th Light SP Anti-Aircraft Company, which included 3 platoons of the 10/4 20mm on the SDKFZ 10 half-track. The Luftwaffe also provided the 83rd Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion, which included 2 companies of 20mm flak and then 2 heavy batteries with the 88mm flak, 37 and 20mm. Second Panzer Division was remarkably similar to 1st Panzer Division. Its 2nd Panzer Brigade, 3rd and 4th Panzer Regiment. The only real difference is that instead of having 20 Panzer IVs per battalion, it only had 16, so thus the reduction in the Panzer IVs in 2 of the medium companies. Biggest difference, of course, no 251s. Even though a company of 251 had been authorised for 2nd Panzer Division, it was probably not issued before the campaign, and so its infantry were all mounted in trucks in 2nd Motorised Infantry Brigade. 2nd Motorcycle Battalion, 703 Self-Propelled Artillery, 74th Motorised Artillery Battalion with 1st to the 10th, separate artillery battalion attached, 5th Motorised Recon Battalion, 38th Anti-Tank Battalion and 38th Armoured Engineer Battalion, 2nd 47th and 92nd. so remarkably similar to 1st Panzer Division. 3rd Panzer Division was raised at the same time as 1st and 2nd, and although it had a similar structure, that is 3rd Panzer Brigade with 5th and 6th Panzer Regiment, it had not been as fortunate with the allocation of the medium tanks, and it still had Panzer IIs and Panzer Is in the majority of its units. Here you can see the light companies. Note, only Panzer IIs and Panzer Is. The Panzer IIIs were found in the medium companies. And that was consistent across the 4 battalions. 3rd Motorised Brigade had the same structure again, as did 3rd Motorcycle Battalion. 75th Artillery Regiment did not have the luxury of a heavy battalion, but 3rd Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion was configured the same, as was 39th Anti-Tank Battalion and 39th Armoured Engineer Battalion. 659th SP and 2nd Battalion Löhr was the Luftwaffe Anti-Aircraft Battalion. 4th Panzer Division was raised 3 years after the first 3, and while it had similar structure, it had some important differences. 5th Panzer Brigade, like the previous 3, had 2 regiments, each of 2 battalions. But 35th and 36th Panzer Regiments were the weakest in terms of gun tanks of any of the Panzer Divisions. You'll notice in the light companies, Panzer Is were the majority of the vehicles, Panzer IIIs, once again, in the medium companies, not in the light company. The 4th Motorised Infantry Brigade has a different structure from the brigades we've seen previously. First, it has 2 infantry regiments rather than 1, but does not have a separate motorcycle infantry battalion. When the 4th fought in Poland in 1939, it only had a single infantry regiment attached to it, which was the 12th. This had come from the cavalry and was a cavalry Schützen organisation, or mounted rifles. The significance of that to us and to wargamers is that there were 2 MG34s per squad rather than the 1 that we've seen previously. This regiment had 2 battalions. The 1st Battalion had its 3 infantry companies motorised, plus a heavy company. Its 2nd Battalion had 2 of its infantry companies in trucks and the 3rd in motorcycles, or on motorcycles. After Poland, the 4th Motorised Infantry Brigade was reinforced and had permanently attached to it the 33rd Motorised Infantry Regiment. This regiment came from the 13th Motorised Division. Its 1st Battalion went as the 3rd Battalion in 3rd Motorised Infantry Brigade in 3rd Panzer Division, and its 2nd and 3rd formed 33rd Motorised Infantry Regiment in the 4th Motorised Infantry Brigade. When it came across, it retained its structure as a motorised infantry regiment. What that meant was that the 2nd Battalion has 3 infantry companies and a machine gun company, and its 3rd Battalion 2 motorised infantry companies and a motorcycle company. Like a standard infantry regiment, therefore, its anti-tank weapons and its light infantry guns were held at regimental level and were then only temporarily detached down to the battalions. Like most motor infantry battalions, only 1 MG34 per company. 5th Panzer Division. Again, a similar structure when we have a look at 8th Armoured Brigade we again see two regiments, 15th and 31st, both with two battalions. Panzer IIIs back in the light companies, and identical structures between the two battalions. Fifth Motorised Infantry Brigade, like 4th, has two infantry regiments, but unlike the previous, both of these regiments are identical and both of them are former mounted rifle, with that extra advantage of having two MG34s per squad rather than the one. 13th Motorised has two infantry companies mounted in trucks, one on motorbikes, and a heavy company. And that is the same for the 2nd Battalion in 13th and for both battalions in the 14th. The other additional asset within the brigade is the 704 SP Artillery Company with its heavy infantry gun on the Panzer I chassis. Similar divisional assets as we'd expect: Motorised Artillery Battalion, the 116th, the 8th Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion, 53rd Motorised Anti-Tank Battalion, 89th Armoured Engineer Battalion. No 10 Slant 4 self-propelled anti-aircraft company, and the Luftwaffe providing the 93rd Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion. The 6th Panzer Division did not fight in Poland. It was created after that campaign on the 18th of October from the 1st Light Division. Contrary to what you might read in some places, it had always been the intention to create full Panzer Divisions from the Light Divisions as soon as possible. 1st Light Division had fought in Poland with 3 battalions and was equipped with 35Ts, the Czech tank that the Germans had taken over when they occupied Czechoslovakia. So it was a relatively easy transformation from a light division into a Panzer Division. The ready availability of the 35Ts also meant that the light companies could be fully equipped with the 17 tanks that was desired. So 11th Panzer Regiment was a very, very strong regiment when you consider how many of its light tanks had 37mm guns. 6th Motorised Infantry Brigade had a single motorised infantry regiment, the 4th, and the 6th Motorcycle Infantry Battalion. The 4th Motorised Infantry Regiment of 3 battalions, all identical, was also previously a mounted rifle or cavalry Schutzen. That meant that each of its squads has 2 MG34s rather than 1. Its light infantry guns were all held centrally at regimental level and parcelled out temporarily, whereas its anti-tank platoons were permanently attached to the battalions. The motorcycle battalion also had 2 MG34s per squad, making these organisations very powerful. Standard divisional assets: 76th Motorised Artillery Regiment of 2 battalions, the 57th Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion, 41st Anti-Tank Battalion, and the 57th Armoured Engineer Battalion. Also included Luftwaffe Battalion, the 76th Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion. 7th Panzer Division was formed after the campaign in Poland from the 2nd Light Division. It had a single tank regiment, the 25th Tank Regiment. One battalion and the regimental headquarters, the 1st 25th, had fought as an independent battalion in Poland and now formed the 1st Battalion of this regiment. The 1st 23rd Tank Battalion had also fought as an independent battalion in Poland and now formed the 2nd Battalion of this regiment. And its 3rd Battalion was the 66th Tank Battalion, which had fought as the Tank Battalion of 2nd Light. None of these battalions had been equipped with the 38T, the second Czech tank that the Germans acquired when they occupied Czechoslovakia. And so between the Polish campaign and the French campaign, this regiment had to first form as a regiment and then equip with the 38T. All of this during winter, which must have been a fairly challenging training assignment. The 38T in German service had an extra crew member, had German radios, and also German lighting systems fitted. And this caused some delay in the production of the 38T, which meant 7th Panzer Division, 25th Panzer Regiment, was not fully equipped with 38Ts when it went into France. And that's why you still see Panzer Is in this division in some of the light companies. The 7th Panzer Division's 7th Motorised Infantry Brigade was one of the largest of its types in France in 1940, having a total of 14 infantry companies across it. It was supported by 705th Self-Propelled Artillery Battery, and then composed of 2 infantry regiments, the 6th and the 7th, both of which were configured identically with 2 infantry battalions each. The infantry battalions consisted of 3 infantry companies and a heavy company in each of the battalions. So 2 infantry battalions per regiment, and then the 7th Motorcycle Infantry Battalion was also part of the brigade, with 2 motorcycle infantry companies and a heavy company. So Rommel enjoyed the advantage of the largest number of infantry attached to any of the Panzer divisions, with the added advantage that these were former mounted rifle or cavalry Schützen, so each of the squads had 2 MG34s per squad. So a formidable fighting brigade. By now you'll be very familiar with the structure of the supporting assets of a Panzer Division. So Rommel had the 78th Motorised Artillery Battalion supporting him, and the 37th Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion. Rommel also had 42nd Motorised Anti-Tank Battalion supporting him, but it only had 2 companies, and I now realise I should have taken one of the companies off 41st, the Anti-Tank Battalion of 6th Panzer, because it also only had 2 companies. And the 58th Armoured Engineer Battalion. Eighth Panzer Division was created after the invasion of Poland on the 16th of October 39 according to Tessen, or on the 18th according to Jets. Its 10th Panzer Regiment was created new. The regimental headquarters created on the 20th of October 39, its 1st Battalion had fought as the separate 1st 10th Battalion in Poland. The 2nd Battalion was created new on 20th of October 39, and its 3rd Battalion, the 67th Panzer Battalion, had been the Panzer Battalion of 3rd Light. The division was equipped with the Czech 38T. It was fortunate in one respect, in the 67th had been equipped with the 38T in Poland, and so it was a little easier than perhaps 7th Panzer Division to transfer and equip with 38T between the Polish and the French campaign. The 10th Panzer Regiment also had the advantage that it was given preference for the 38T, and so all of its light companies were fully equipped with the 17 light vehicles that was desired for the light companies. So you will not find in 8th Panzer or 10th Panzer Regiment any Panzer Is. By the start of the French campaign, they had all been replaced, and this made 10th Panzer a very powerful regiment, fully equipped with its 38Ts. The 8th Motorised Infantry Brigade included the 8th Motorised Infantry Regiment, a regiment of 3 battalions, and the 8th Motorcycle Infantry Battalion. Each of the battalions had 3 infantry companies and a separate machine gun battalion. But note, like 6th Panzer, the anti-tank platoons were attached directly to the battalions, whereas the light infantry guns were held at regimental level. The 8th was a new brigade created after the invasion of Poland, or at least the headquarters was new, and was formed from 9th Cavalry Schützen Brigade. What this meant was that each of the squads, including the squads in the motorcycle battalion, had 2 MG34s each. 80th Motorised Artillery Regiment, the 59th Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion, the 2 Company 43 Anti-Tank Battalion, 59th Armoured Engineer Battalion. Unlike the 6th Panzer Regiment, they'd managed to find an anti-aircraft company for the 8th, the 4th of the 48th, and then the Luftwaffe provided the 84th Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion. Ninth Panzer Division was not raised until January of 1940 and was the smallest of all the Panzer Divisions. Its 33rd Panzer Regiment was not raised until February of 1940 and only had 2 battalions. The 2nd Battalion of the regiment, 2nd 33, was the same battalion that had fought as part of 4th Light. It was a weak battalion in that its light companies still all had Panzer IIs and Panzer Is, and its medium company was quite weak. On the other hand, the 1st Battalion was the previous Luhr Battalion, and this battalion was one of the most powerful battalions of all the German armoured regiments. In keeping with battalions and regiments from the German training schools, it was fully equipped, in this case with its Panzer IIIs. So it had 17 Panzer IIIs per company and a fully equipped medium. So quite different battalions within 33rd, and if you're ever going to be reinforced by any battalion, be reinforced by LER. 9th Motorised Infantry Brigade consisted of 2 regiments, the 10th and the 11th. Both of these were 2 battalion regiments. Each battalion was structured identically with 3 infantry companies and a heavy company. Supporting the brigade was 701st SP Artillery Company. These were cavalry Schutzen, or mounted rifles, so 2 MG34s per infantry squad. Behind 102nd Motorised Artillery Regiment, we find where the motorbike troops are within 9th Panzer Division, and they're all located within 9th Reconnaissance Regiment. Now, unlike all the other Panzer Divisions, 9th Panzer Division had a reconnaissance regiment. This was a hangover from Poland. All of the light divisions in Poland had a reconnaissance regiment, but these were all disbanded, or perhaps more correctly, reallocated after Poland in the other 3 divisions. Normally, one of the motorcycle companies formed the reconnaissance battalion, and then the other 2 either formed a separate motorcycle battalion, as in the case of 7th Panzer Division, or were allocated to the infantry regiments in 6th and 8th Panzer. But 9th Panzer Division, perhaps because it was formed so late, kept the reconnaissance regiment structure, so that its 1st battalion was a 3 infantry company strong motorcycle battalion, and its 2nd had 2 companies of armoured cars. The motorcycle troops were cavalry Schutzen, or mounted rifles, so had their 2 MG34s per squad. 50th Motorised Anti-Tank Battalion of 3 companies, the 86th Armoured Engineer Battalion, finally 3rd 47th SP Anti-Aircraft Company, and 94th Luftwaffe Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion. Lucky last, 10th Panzer Division. 10th Panzer Division had begun forming on 1st of April 1939, but was not complete before the invasion of Poland. It did participate in Poland with 8th Panzer Regiment, but it was after Poland that 7th Panzer Regiment, which had served with the Kempf Panzer Division, was assigned to it. So that for France, the 4th Panzer Brigade was similar to 1st and 2nd Panzer Division, that is, it had 2 Panzer Regiments, the 7th and 8th, both of 2 battalions. And its number of Panzer IIIs, Panzer IIs and Panzer Is was very similar to what we saw in 1st and 2nd Panzer Division. It had slightly less Panzer IVs than 1st Panzer Division, roughly the same number as in 2nd Panzer Division. The 10th Motorised Infantry Brigade was formed on the 27th of October 1939, so after the invasion of Poland. For the invasion of Poland, the 10th Panzer Division had only 1 infantry regiment, which was the 86th Motorised Infantry Regiment, which had been detached from the 29th Motorised Infantry Division for the invasion of Poland. After Poland, the 86th Motorised Infantry Regiment stayed under 10th Motorised Infantry Brigade, but then was joined by the 69th
Motorised Infantry Regiment detached from the 20th Motorised Infantry Division, and these two regiments formed 10th Motorised Infantry Brigade for France. 86th retained its structure as a 2-battalion motorised infantry regiment, each battalion having 3 infantry companies and a machine gun company. Like a standard infantry regiment, the light infantry guns and the anti-tank guns were held at regimental level. The 69th was slightly different in that instead of 3 infantry companies in trucks, one of the infantry companies in both of the battalions was mounted on motorcycles. Again, the infantry guns and the anti-tank guns were held at regimental level. Way back at the start of this video, you'll remember that 10th Panzer Division was fortunate in its artillery regiment having assigned to it additional battalion. So the 90th Motorised Artillery Regiment had attached to it the 1st of the 105 with 2 batteries of 150 and a 150 howitzer and a battery of 105mm guns. The 90th Motorised Reconnaissance Battalion, Standard Reconnaissance Battalion, the Leur Anti-Tank Battalion of 3 companies, 49th Motorised Engineer Battalion, 3rd of the 55th Self-Propelled Anti-Aircraft Company, and finally the Luftwaffe 71st Motorised Light Anti-Aircraft Battalion. So that ends my video of the 10 Panzer Divisions that formed the spearhead of the German invasion into France and the Low Countries in 1940. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a bit about the structures of the divisions and how different they were. I hope you enjoyed looking at my model collection and hopefully have used it as an excuse to go out and buy more. Please excuse the production qualities of this video. It's the first video I've ever made for YouTube, and I'd very much welcome any feedback, both positive and negative, so that I can improve for next time.